Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome everyone. Today I wanted to try something a little bit different and present 4 different sports card scenarios that we're going to call moral gray areas. So some of you may feel that there's major wrongdoing here. Others may feel that there's really nothing wrong at all. And I would love to get some viewer feedback on it. You'll be able to leave your opinions in the comments below or on Instagram. I'll mention instructions for that at the end of the video. But all 4 of these scenarios are based on personal experience. Either I was involved in a very similar situation or I know somebody personally who was. But I'm going to sort of save what I did or my personal opinion on each of these scenarios for the follow-up video, in which I'll also include all of your opinions as well. All right, for scenario 1, we're going to say that Bob is at a random yard sale on a Saturday morning. We're going to go with Bob as our main character for all of these scenarios. And the yard sale is at a very small, rundown old house. It's owned by a sweet old lady who lives there alone and is clearly not very wealthy. Bob looks over the tables, which are just full of junky old knickknacks. But then Bob sees a random baseball card. We'll say a 1955 Bowman Mickey Mantle. It's in pretty nice shape. Bob looks it over closely and he's sure it's original and unaltered. Easily worth $1,000 as is, possibly more if Bob were to get it graded. So Bob asks the old woman, how much would you like for this card? And she says, oh, how about $1? Bob pulls out $1 and gives it to her and leaves with the card. And that's it for scenario 1. Did Bob do anything wrong here? If so, what and why? And what should he have done differently? And if he didn't do anything wrong, why not? Scenario 2 is very similar to scenario 1 with a couple of details changed. We're still at a yard sale, but no longer at a little old lady's house. We're now at a fancy mansion, let's say in the Hollywood Hills, and the homeowner is a super wealthy dude and a bit of a jerk. When Bob sees the mantle card, he asks about it, and the guy says something obnoxious like, oh, you still like to play with toys? What's it worth? And Bob says, oh, I really don't know, but I'll give you $1 for it. And the guy says, okay, give me the $1. And he hands the $1. He hands him the $1 and leaves with the card. So does the tweak to the stories here change anything in your view in terms of moral obligation? The fact that the guy is wealthy and a bit rude, or the fact that Bob, claimed he didn't know the value. Does that matter in this scenario? What's sort of Bob's moral obligation in these 2 scenarios? For scenario 3, let's say that Bob recently bought a collection that had a 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan rookie in it. He paid $1,000 for the Jordan and was planning on sending it to PSA. However, after taking it to a few local dealers, they all advised him that the card was a very good-looking fake. The person who Bob bought the card from is long gone, so there's no chance of getting his money back that way. Bob is trying to figure out a way to recoup his losses, and he hears about an auction company that specializes in buying out storage units and just auctioning everything inside as is. They also take items on consignment, so Bob decides to consign the Jordan card to the auction company. The company does not specialize in sports cards in any way, so they don't know anything. They're not experts on cards or fakes, and they simply put the Jordan into auction and sell it as is. Bob doesn't mention anything about whether it's real or fake. He simply hands them the card and they run the auction. The card sells for $2,000 and Bob actually turns a profit. So what do we think about what Bob did here? I mean, technically he did not lie. He simply handed a card to an auction company, and the auction company is realistically responsible for the listing here. But Bob did know about it being a fake up front, so what do you consider to be Bob's moral obligation in this scenario? For scenario 4, Bob is listing a card on eBay. It's a card worth about $500 and he intends to price it at exactly that, $500. But when he's listing it, he accidentally makes a mistake and prices the card at $100. The card sells within 30 seconds of it having been listed as someone clicks to buy it now for $100. Before Bob even realizes what's happened, the card has been purchased and paid for, and it's just now that Bob realizes his listing mistake. Bob decides not to honor the sale, but instead he refunds the buyer and marks the card as no longer available for sale. As you have to do something, you have to explain why if you're going to cancel a sale on eBay. But then he just waits a couple weeks and relists the card again for the full $500. So what do we think about what Bob did here? The only thing the seller can do is leave negative feedback. Is that enough or is that too much? Or whatever. What's the proper etiquette for Bob in this situation? So those are the 4 hypothetical scenarios. I would love to hear what people think of each one. Is what Bob did okay, or do you feel Bob's moral obligation, was something else? As I mentioned, I'll do a follow-up video soon in which I'll go over each scenario and what my personal opinion is. And I hope to get a bunch of responses to this and see what others feel is fair or correct or whatever. And if you would like to leave your opinion, you can leave it in the comments below. You can simply say, wrong or not wrong, or you can leave more details if you wish. And I'll also post a question on my Instagram account, which I basically just restarted back up. The link to that is below, and you can respond there as well. I'll gather all the responses and see if there's like a general consensus, or maybe it varies, and we'll talk about that in the follow-up video. Again, maybe in like a week or two for the follow-up video. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you found it interesting, and we'll see you all back here in, like I said, a week or two for the follow-up. Thanks everyone.